Do you know what's really funny?
What?
I say funny 100 times. I'll pick one word each like episode and I'll say it nonstop. You know, it's really funny. I just thought it was really funny. It's so funny to me.
The funny is a new word for you, though, because you have been saying that to me a lot lately.
What is going
I
on?
don't know, but
Am I just noticing humor in life? Like I'm not depressed anymore.
I haven't never gotten the impression that you actually mean that it's funny when you say it. It's
No.
normally like you have been ranting for 5 minutes now, and I can't stand it, and I wish you would shut up, and then you'll be like, "You're so funny." I know that that is not what you mean.
Ooh,
You mean I'm the
awkward.
opposite of funny,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, maybe you could come up with some
I
new
need
insults.
some new
Yeah.
verbiage here. I don't know if you remember.
Mhm.
I think it was after Phantasma
Mhm.
where you were like, "We are not doing a book with spice anymore. We're only gonna do smutty books," which you did end up
I
saying.
redacted.
Yes,
Yep.
but we wouldn't have done this book because I don't think this book is a smutty book.
This is not a smutty book.
No.
This is a book with smut.
Yes.
It is
Great smut.
yes, but it is definitely not a smutty book.
No.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we redacted on it.
I would have read
Oh
it and
my
I'd have
god.
been like, "No, it's a book with spice," and you would have never even read it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
No, I can't. I
what your life would be?
It would be so empty and bleak. I
You
can't.
you loved this book.
I loved this book. I don't know what the fuck I was reading before I read this book.
I also don't feel like I see this book recommended a lot. I don't think it's recommended enough.
I agree. And you know that I think in Lights Out, you say that this book is overhyped. And
Yeah, this is the book that people say is overhyped.
I strongly disagree. I
Same.
think it is, if it is hyped at all, which I don't feel like it is super hyped at all,
No.
it's underhyped, if anything. It perfectly fits into this very specific section of books with smut that is riding on the same coattails as Sarah J. Maas books,
Yeah.
where this book actually has an actual storyline, it has an actual purpose, and we get a little bit of gratuitous smut. And
I'm so happy we read
yeah,
this.
me too.
I'm so disappointed that Brynne Weaver is coming here and we don't get to go to her
I
event.
know.
It's sold out.
I know. In my head, I was like, there has to be a way that I can make this happen. And
Yep.
I spent really more time than I probably should have trying to figure out how I could get like scalped tickets.
Well, I was like, what if we just go to the door
Yeah. No,
and see what
honestly.
happens?
Yeah. Honestly, I would truly be down for that. Worst case scenario, they turn us away and we go and get drunk.
Exactly. I love that idea. And then we record it.
Yeah. Seriously. I am so excited to talk about this book. I'm so excited to talk about the next one.
Same.
Oh my god.
They're so good.
They're so
You didn't even want to
good.
read the second book. You just wanted to keep reading this one over and over again.
I know, I did really struggle with
good.
that. It is that good. Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm Amanda,
I'm Nicole.
and we are Book Sluts. We read, recap, and review smutty books. Let us help you decide if this book should be on your TBR. What book are we reading today?
We are reading The Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver.
And as we've already said, this book is a book with smut. The smut does not happen until pretty deep into the
Like 250 pages in.
Yeah.
It's a great, great book, though.
Yes,
Like, hang in there.
I love that we are reading this on the tails of Lights Out, because Lights Out, the biggest issue that I had with that book is that the storyline was not there for how long it took us to get to a place of like real, honest to God smut. And this book is a perfect example of what I mean when I say that. And I think comparing these two it's very clear.
This is your favorite book that we've read in a while.
This is my
that you've
favorite.
read.
This is probably my favorite book of 2024. So, because I technically read it before the first of the year. So, if I had to pick a favorite book of 2024, it would be this.
I love that
For
you.
sure. I know. Thank you so much. I do too. Do you have any stories before we jump in?
I do.
Ooh, okay.
This one, I told you that I wanted to tell this story. It just perfectly encapsulates Amanda. We had a meeting a few days ago and you come running in right before the meeting.
Mhm.
I was in the middle of something that I couldn't do the day before,
Mhm.
so I had to do it right when I got in,
Mhm.
and our meeting was like a half hour after we got in for the day. You come running in, and you're like, "All right, guys, we're gonna go meet in this office." And I was like, "I just need 10 minutes." You you
No,
claim you
go
didn't
ahead and tell the story the way that you told it earlier.
you were just exasperated sigh, like, "I don't have 10 minutes." Snapped at me.
I didn't say it like that. That's
So I
not
was
what
like,
I meant.
"Okay, I'll meet you guys in there."
Mhm.
I get in there, and at the end of this meeting, Amanda is like, "I All right, guys, I just need to brag about myself here
Yeah.
for a minute."
Yeah.
So then you proceed to brag about yourself, but you didn't have 10 minutes to
Which was
wait.
justified.
You didn't have 10 minutes to wait for me to start our meeting.
The thing is like, I literally love when I get the opportunity to really just, like, tell people what really fucking happened. It's my favorite thing. So, first of all, yeah, I came in with my fucking hair on fire because I'm busy as fuck right now. I can't even see straight. I have so much
Yeah,
shit going on. And, like, just for context, that meeting, the only reason that we even had that meeting scheduled for that time is because it was the only time that everybody else could be at that meeting. I already had another meeting that I was supposed to be at that morning.
right.
I was supposed to run from 8:30 until 11. And instead of going to the meeting in person like I was supposed to, I opted to Zoom the last half of the meeting so that I could participate in this meeting with everybody else and accommodate everybody else's schedule.
And
So, yeah,
yeah,
I came in with my fucking hair on fire and was like, "Let's get this fucking meeting done," because I'm literally
yeah,
missing the first half of another meeting that I'm supposed to be in. And then I get into the meeting that I
we didn't even need it.
arranged my life for,
Yeah,
and it was not one single person had anything to contribute. It was like, "What the fuck did I do this whole thing for?" I was out of my mind, and I was like, "Alright, well, you know what?" Like, I was expecting it to be a really engaging, like, maybe an
that's how it
hour-long
was.
meeting. Yes.
That's how it the other meeting that I was at was 2 hours of this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I did warn you that our meeting on a couple days prior had
Mhm.
been 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I know that is what we were expecting.
Yeah, and then I get in there, and it was completely lackluster, like you said, completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
I don't even know why we bothered. It
yeah.
was
I
like,
engaged, and then our counterpart looked at you and said, "That's very interesting. Amanda, what do you think?"
yeah, well,
Thanks. Thanks for that.
he appreciates my time. So, well,
He clearly appreciates your opinion more than mine.
that's because I brag about myself. I figured, well, fuck it. If we're not gonna talk about anything productive, then absolutely I'm gonna take a few minutes to toot my own horn
It
because
was definitely good bragging.
yeah, I
I'm
was
so happy that I now know that actually.
thank you. Yeah, yeah, I feel
Very
really good about
exciting.
myself. I know.
Yeah.
I just like I was like, "All right, well, fuck it. I'm gonna take my time then." And then I ended up making it to the other meeting, and I made more of that meeting than I was expecting to anyway. So, even though I took the time to brag about myself, I was still ahead of schedule because of how mediocre that meeting was.
Yeah, it really was.
Watch this be the first episode that he ever listens to.
That'd be so funny. I really don't think he will.
Oh god, no. No.
No, even if we make it,
Mhm.
he'll brag about us because he does love to brag about us.
Yeah.
He will not be listening.
Don't we love that about him that he loves to brag
Yes,
about us? Yeah,
yes.
it's so sweet.
It feels very much I don't know if you've been on TikTok recently, but
Mm.
did you watch The Hills or
No.
Laguna Beach?
No.
So, the villain from The Hills, Spencer Pratt,
Mhm.
he lost his home in a fire,
Oh, sure.
wildfires out in LA, and he's been, like, all over TikTok, and he's just, like, hyping up his wife. Like, "You guys should listen to
Oh.
her song." He's wearing her T-shirt, and, like,
Oh.
watching just his recent videos, he's always hyping her up,
Yeah.
and that feels very much like
Yeah.
we love a hype man.
We really do, especially me. I am a
Yes,
positive affirmation person. Hype
yeah,
me up all
it's so
day.
adorable,
Yeah, it
and then
is.
TikTok might go away.
Oh my god, I know. I just, like I think that we were talking about this earlier because I trying to describe TikTok to somebody who does not use TikTok is
They don't get
it's
it.
impossible. Yeah, it's you could try to compare it to something that is universally familiar like Instagram or Facebook, and it still would just not do and it's so interesting because I remember when Facebook came out, it was meant to be this very, like, exclusive thing where you were
You had to have a college ID.
yeah, you had yep,
Yep.
you had to be connected to somebody somehow, and it wasn't like and I think that TikTok really proved the point of how important community is in and amongst all of this sort of hype about, like, exclusivity, and I like we were talking about this earlier, I follow, like, 6,300 people on TikTok, and I can promise you that if they came up in my feed, I would recognize them.
If I saw them in real life, I'd recognize them.
100%. Yes.
Oh,
It's not like I'm, like I follow a lot of people, but, like, my page, my For You page is predominantly filled with those people and people like those people,
mhm.
and the people that I'm interacting with are so perfectly aligned with, like, who I am and how I see the world, and I just the algorithm is
One of a kind.
it is one of a kind, and it's not surprising to me at all that the US can't capitalize on it, so they don't want it
They're
to
gonna ban it.
exist. Yeah.
But Gen Z and TikTok is not going down without a fight, and it's, like, great to watch.
I fucking stan Gen Z. I am absolutely obsessed with them. I think
Millennials could never. We would have
oh
just
my
accepted
god.
it,
Yes.
unfortunately,
Yes.
and we would have gone back to Instagram Reels.
Yeah, that's very true.
And Gen Z is like,
Mm.
"You want a security threat? You
Yeah.
got one."
Honestly, just, like, the Gen Z content in general is so next level.
Yeah.
Ange and I share a lot of, like, videos back and forth, and one of our kind of niche things that we share is hot dog videos.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna tell you right now, these hot dog videos are they're so like, imagine, like, a hot dog riding a horse listening to, like, Celine Dion, "I Will Always Love You" in the background. It's with, like, a beach that's, like, psychedelic colors.
Okay.
It's a good fucking time, and I
And I love
know
that you found that community.
honest to God
Like, I
yes.
love that for you.
Instagram, we would never be able to find that. It
No.
would never I would have to know what I was looking for to be able to find content like
Yeah,
that.
the
It
random ass shit that
yes.
Instagram Reels shows me, like,
Yes.
I was looking for masked bikers,
Mhm.
not whatever this
Mhm.
is.
Yes. Men climbing women.
Yeah.
It'll be sad.
Hopefully, they postpone it and then
Mhm.
decide against it
Yeah, fingers
and
crossed.
realize the mistake that they made because
Yeah,
Gen Z will literally burn it to the ground.
100%.
They're willing to go down
I think so.
with TikTok.
Yes, I think so, honestly. Yeah.
What a time,
What a time to be alive,
really.
honestly. Alright, should we jump in?
Let's do it.
Alright. So, the content and trigger warnings on this book are
Extensive.
I had to take a big swallow there, I didn't know.
I rated this book on Storygraph, and you can do all the content warnings, and I was literally, like, clicking them all
Yeah.
because 'cause I'm like, "Shit, I wanna make sure that somebody understands cannibalism is in this book."
Yeah. The thing of it is it is a romantic comedy.
Yes.
So
Dark romantic comedy.
yeah, the content and trigger warnings read, "As much as Butcher and Blackbird is a dark romantic comedy and will hopefully make you laugh through the madness, it's still dark. Please read responsibly. If you have questions about this list, please don't hesitate to contact me at brynweaverbooks.com or on one of my social media platforms. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok. The warnings include eyeballs and eye sockets, amateur surgery, skin ornaments, chainsaws, axes, knives, scalpels, a lot of sharp objects, accidental cannibalism, not so accidental cannibalism, questionable use of a mummified corpse, lobotomized mad servant, ill advised use of kitchen implements. I'm sorry about the cookies and cream ice cream. And then in parentheses, it says, I'm not really. Detailed sex scenes, which include but are not limited to cock warming, rough sex, praise, kink, anal, adult toys, choking, spitting, dom sub interactions, genital piercings. References to parental neglect and child abuse, parental loss not depicted, references to child sexual assault not in detail. It is a book about serial killers, so there's some generally messed up murder and chaos. And there's going to be a couple of scenes that we're going to talk about that I will provide an additional trigger warning before I talk about the scene because This is not like Lights Out, where she had that extensive list and it was the most PG book you've ever read.
Yeah.
This is dark. This is a dark romantic comedy. It is so dark. My favorite thing about this author is the levity that she brings to such a dark topic.
It was funny.
It is,
This
yeah.
is one of the first I've seen, like, Lights Out, people would say it's really funny, it's comedy.
Mhm.
I didn't laugh.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
There's a specific part that's in my head here that's so funny, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I have to talk about it.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
And we haven't talked about this book yet at all.
No.
We've really
Yeah.
been saving this for you guys.
Yes. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to talk about Leather and Lark. Oh my God. You guys just.
Also, when Skip
Sparrow.
Scythe and Sparrow, I'm all for a circus girl.
Yeah.
That book I feel like is gonna be great. Cannot wait.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. I'm so excited. The dedication on this book is important because the dedication of this book says, for those of you who read the trigger warnings and said accidental cannibalism, count me in. This one's for you.
Yes. Yes.
I also have about 3
Quotes.
quotes.
It is a quotable book, so I'll give that to you.
Well, I think it's hard. I try to do this book justice in my notes, and I just cannot do it justice. I can't. I for context, for anybody listening, I am somebody who very much enjoys like horror and uh, my phone case. I'm looking at my phone case right now, and it is an all black phone case with some like muted flowers, and then hidden amongst the flowers is like the Scream mask, Freddy, Jason, like their little heads are like poking out of the flowers. So just like this book is so up my alley. I can't even begin to describe it. And
You did a photo shoot with your kids that was reminiscent of Sleepy Hollow.
yeah, I did a photo shoot of my children holding the stack of twigs like the little girls do in the movie Sleepy Hollow so that I could get a picture of them snapping the twig like they did for the Headless Hessian. And so I like this genre is just something that I'm so passionate about, and I just oh my God, just like fucking listen to me gush. I just
If those triggers didn't upset you, you need to read this book.
yeah. So our book opens with a prologue where we meet Sloane, who is a serial killer who kills serial killers, and that is literally the first line of this book. She says, being a serial killer who kills serial killers is a great hobby until you find yourself locked in a cage." So we're not at all confused about what's happening.
I was surprised that she jumped into this quickly.
Mhm. Yeah. I think the way that this book is written is so thoughtful and it's just so well done. But Sloane has found herself in this cage as a result of her murder not going exactly as planned, because just as she stabbed the killer, he pushed her into the cage and locked it. So, in addition to being locked in the cage, there is a body that is decomposing on the outside of the cage. And we meet her just as the maggots are breaking free of the body and have begun their slow crawl towards her. And like, describing this in these notes is gross, but when she describes it in the book, she describes it as like little orzo pastas.
Yeah.
Like she does such a good job of, again, like we realize reading this book that this is a dark book. Like the topics that are discussed in this book are dark. We are not glorifying in any way, shape, or form anything related to murder, but if you're going to have content like that, doing it in a way that is accessible.
Makes it seem lighthearted. Yeah.
It really does.
And she's been in there for 3 days.
She's in a rough place. She starts to sing out loud to herself "Bye Bye Blackbird" by Paul McCartney. Just as she finishes singing, a man's head pops into her field of vision from outside her cage. The man is attractive, flirty, and completely unbothered by the scene before him. He introduces himself as Rowan, the Boston Butcher, and he is also a serial killer who kills serial killers. Again, we learn it right away. And we learn here that Sloane's murderer name is the Orb Weaver. So, although Rowan is excited to meet her and feels vindicated that his predictions of her being a woman are true, Sloane is less enthusiastic, and although she does know who he is, pretends to not know him, which
He's fangirling. It's so cute.
so fucking
Do
adorable.
we know I kind of forgot about this. Do we know how he knew she was there?
I
Oh,
don't
he was gonna kill him.
on his way to kill him.
He was gonna kill him, that's right.
Yes, and she got to him first, and I
Yes.
think that is really what sparks the challenges moving forward, is that we find out that there was another serial killer that she had been on her way to murder, and he had gotten to him first, and now she beat him to this one, and so there's already kind of this, like, little competitive edge between the 2 of them, right off the bat, and
And he's
it's
written so well too. He like I said, he's fangirling over her. She kinda seems like she's the better we'll see. She's the better serial killer.
oh,
And he is
absolutely.
not at all self-conscious about it. It doesn't bother him. He's like, "Yes, queen." It's so
It
wonderful.
is
I love
so
how they are both written. They're such good characters.
oh my god, these are some of my favorite characters that I've ever read.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sloane finds him attractive, like, right away, but she's feeling very self-conscious because she's been trapped in this cage with no food for days. Let's do physical descriptions.
Okay, physical descriptions. Sloane, so she's young. When we start the book, she's 23. She is 5'8", very, very pretty. She has hazel eyes, long black hair, freckles. She's curvy and she has one dimple. And then Rowan, he is tall. He has short brown hair, blue eyes. He has a scar through his top lip, perfect teeth, she says. He has very strong features and he's good looking.
And he's Irish.
He is Irish.
Yes, so he has an Irish accent.
Did you listen to the audiobook at all? Peggle is listening to it, and he has an Irish accent.
Oh my god, I love
I
that.
need to listen to it.
I would actually consider listening to this
These
one.
boys with that Irish
Yeah.
accent, shit.
Oh my god, yes, honestly. Rowan gets his name from the way that he cuts up the bodies of his victims, so that's why he's called the Butcher of Boston. And Sloane gets her name from the intricate crime scenes that she sets up after she kills someone, where she plucks out their eyes and then weaves them along with other bits and pieces of their bodies into an ornate web using fishing line.
Queen. And the fact, too, we find out later that they're maps. They're
Yes.
literally maps to these people's victims.
Yeah, the webs are in fact maps, and each of the pieces of the body mark where the killer's victims' deaths happened. And the eye is where they find the killer. So that's sort of the
Who thinks of this? Brilliant.
Sloane.
Brilliant.
No.
She is so great.
She is so great.
But, of course, the FBI can't fucking figure out her clues because
No, and of
women are
course they
smarter
think
than
that
men.
and they think that she's a man.
Of course they do.
So, which is very interesting.
Statistically, they're
Statistically
right on.
statistically, yeah, but I never in my life have I met a man that was that capable.
We just talked about that today.
I'm just like,
Absolutely not.
no. Rowan decides to break her free from the cage. She showers in the killer's home, borrowing some of his clothes, and then they burn the house down and they go get barbecue for lunch. Literally same day. Like, we don't have to go home and sleep it off. We're just
No.
gonna go get something to eat.
She has wet hair when they get to the restaurant.
Yeah. Rowan begins to call Sloane his private nickname for her right away, which is Blackbird. So this is where we get the Butcher and Blackbird title. And we've already talked about it, but I love the way that these two are written. Sloane is very, very serious. She's very, very introverted and she's a little flighty. And she refers to Rowan as pretty boy and is sincerely not amused by his antics at all. Rowan, on the other hand, is a golden retriever. He
Yes.
is absolutely smitten immediately, and he is so happy. He's so relaxed. He just has just a nothing bothers him kind of demeanor, and no matter how brusque or surly Sloane is with him, he is never bothered by it. He almost finds it comical. Like, the more wound up that she gets, the more that he loves it.
Like you said, the black cat golden retriever, they are the epitome of that type of relationship.
Yes, so much so. And the book is filled with banter. I mean, like Nicole alluded to earlier, this book is funny. Their banter is impossible to capture correctly. It is so good. She is just he is constantly flirting with her and she's completely oblivious to it. She
Yes.
just thinks he's being an idiot.
Which he kind of is.
Yeah. This meal and this conversation is really the best type of conversation for me because there are no pretenses. These two have nothing to hide from one another. Sloane feels as at ease as she truly ever can feel, given who she is as a person. And the way that they talk to each other is exactly how a conversation between two individuals who have just met someone with a unique special interest would talk to each other. They are like, right away, they're like, "Oh, you kill serial killers? I also kill serial killers." And
You're
they're like,
excited.
yeah.
It's so refreshing. I just read a book. It hasn't come out yet. I read it as an ARC. I am not gonna review it until it comes out because I hated
Mm,
it's not realistic how humans interact, and
mm,
that bothers me so much. I'd rather have a dumbed down conversation that's realistic than people just talking in pages. Anna Hung does that,
yeah,
and it's a big reason why I really didn't like that book. I
which
want
track?
realistic interactions because I can picture myself in these books,
Mm,
and I need that.
yeah. Well, and I do think too, like, there absolutely, I think, is a place for us to have that really intellectual, thoughtful, like, banter, but it's not in a book about
No, if I want that, I'll go read some Tolstoy.
yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yep. This lunch is where they figure out the 2 sort of murders that they were each trying to get to that they lost out on. And so Rowan issues a challenge to Sloane regarding the newer, lesser known serial killer who is killing hikers. And the rules of the challenge are that Rowan's brother Lachlan will text him when the challenge begins with a location of where to find the killer. And the first to make their kill wins the challenge and bragging rights. And if no one finds the killer within 7 days, then it's a draw. And 1 year later, Sloane, while dismembering a pedophile, receives her first challenge clue and immediately gets on a plane to travel to West Virginia. So this is where our story just kind of kicks off from here.
How long did it take you? Because you text me pretty quick how much you love this book.
Mhm.
How long did it take you to be all in?
At lunch,
Yeah.
them at the barbecue place. There isn't a lot of smut in this book. There's a lot of sexual tension.
Yes.
And like at this lunch, Sloane is wearing a borrowed t-shirt. She has no bra. Her nipples are pierced. Rowan can see it through the shirt. She's eating these ribs like she hasn't eaten in 3 days because she literally hasn't.
Yes.
So she's like taking them into her mouth, sucking them off the bone, and like is like covered in barbecue sauce. And she's like eating the French fries and like the whole thing. And then they're just their banter. I was bought in 100% right away.
Yeah.
I the thing is Sloane is actually actually, Sloane we were just talking about this earlier today. Sloane is exactly how I am when people are interested in me.
Yes.
It is it's honest to God, I for all of the amount of flirting that I'm a very flirty person.
Yeah.
I flirt with everybody
Yeah.
all of the time. And for whatever reason, as soon as somebody actually is interested in me, I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
we were just talking about
You need to tell the story.
so I went to this convention for work, and it was like a big conference, and there's all these people sitting at these tables, and I had gotten up, like, to refill my coffee cup a couple of times, and there was this man sitting at this table, and he's sitting down, and I'm, like, trying to, like, be as quiet as possible. I'm, like, getting up and walking while there's a speaker talking, and he was staring at me, and so I, like, made eye contact with him and did one of those, like, "What do you" like,
What are you looking at?
"What are you looking at?" Like, with my chest.
I can picture it.
And
I can picture that happening.
and then he got up to go he actually was one of the speakers, and he got up to go up and talk, and he was so, so sexy. He was beautiful. He was like a contractor, And so he was their, like, expert contractor
Oh,
for
hell yeah.
this. He was, like, muscled, and he had these, like, smart man glasses on, and he was wearing, like, a fitted suit, and he was so attractive, and I had just been, like I just made an ugly face at him not but 10 minutes earlier.
Oh my
He
god.
wouldn't even look into my direction of the room.
You probably have 100 soulmates out there who have tried to get your
I
attention,
know.
and you have bullied them.
I don't know why that is. Do you remember when that gal came up to hit on me
Yes.
at the
At Lush?
club at Lush?
Yeah.
And yeah, she came up and we're talking. The only way that I knew that she was standing there was because Nicole was like, "Oh," like from down the table, and she's standing there staring at me. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that she was there. And then she looked at me and was like, I don't even remember what she said to me. And I was like, "I'm married."
She told you, like, you're gorgeous, you're
Yeah.
so beautiful,
Yes.
and you were like, "Get the fuck away from
Yeah.
me."
Yes. And I was so honestly, I was so flattered, and I was like, "Oh my god, I just got hit on, like, by this." She was beautiful,
Yeah. And
and
you
I
chased her away.
I literally chased her away, and it's all I want in life is to be hit on, and then I do get hit on, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? Stop talking to me. You're a weirdo." I let me tell you, I relate to Sloane so much. It's
I
unbelievable.
love that for you.
Yeah.
Secret serial killer.
I
Honestly, though, like, I'd never guess.
Oh, no.
No.
No. Well, and when we get to the next book, I relate even more to that character.
I think I put that in my notes.
Did you? Ye
Probably, because I also feel like
Yeah.
you're more like Lark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only thing that I really relate to with Sloane is just the nervous energy.
Oblivious.
Yeah, about it all, but everything else, Sloane is like the type of woman that I would be the golden retriever with, and she would be like, "Why are you being nice to me? Stop talking to me." So
And it
mhm.
is funny because in real life, when you want a friend, when you meet a new person,
Yeah,
you're so nice and you wanna be best friends, but
I
then
know.
as soon
I
as somebody does the same thing to you, you're like, "Get the fuck away from me.
know.
Shoot."
The thing is that this podcast is giving me a complex, and I've been talking about it in therapy, so
The fact that you and other people are talking about our podcast in therapy,
I know.
it's wonderful.
It really is. It's healing.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're welcome. We meet the bulk of our supporting characters after this challenge is issued. So they all play a big part in the story. Our first introduction is to Sloane's best friend, Lark. And although we don't learn a lot about her initially, we discover that she is very aware of Sloane's hobby. So this is not something that Sloane is like hiding from Lark. And she talks like every single detail about what she does. She calls up Lark afterwards and is like, "So let me tell you what happened, girl." She's like, and Lark is like, "Oh, yeah, wow, that sounds great." Like,
I really liked that about this book
oh, yeah.
because I didn't know when we met these characters if they were going to know,
Mm.
and it makes the book so much better.
And I think that this goes back to even, like, Lights Out, where it's like everything was, like, such a secret, and, like, what they like to do sexually was a secret, and, like, the fact that they were being stalked was a secret, and all of these, like, fucking secrets, and it's like, even when they kill these people, they're like, "All right, should we clean it up?" And they're like, "Yep," and then it's, like, fade to black, and then we move on, and we don't have to, like, experience there is absolutely no anxiety about getting caught in this entire book. None whatsoever. We are never worried about it. It's not even a plot line at all,
And
so
again, I really liked that
I did too.
because there is enough in this book
Mhm.
that we didn't need also the FBI on their tail.
Yes, absolutely. Lark is excited for the killer challenge because she is excited for Sloane to make a new friend.
'Cause Sloane's only friend has ever been Lark.
Yeah.
They met in high school.
Yep. And Sloane doesn't have any family.
No family, no boyfriends.
Mhm. Yep. So
'Cause I
Lark
think we
is
find out she hasn't had sex
yeah,
in
in
a
a
long
long
time.
time. Yeah. Yep. She's an introvert. I mean, she's a
Yeah.
true through and through introvert. She
Like, I think
doesn't
she works from home.
Yep. She works from home. She does like she's a computer analyst or something.
Something.
And yeah, she doesn't even have pets. I mean, literally nothing. So, and there'll come a part like later on in the book where they're like the butcher is worried about her well-being because she's constantly by herself, and she's like, literally, I like it this way.
Yeah.
So, and I can also relate to that because I do like when people leave me the fuck alone. So, the relationship in this book between Lark and Sloane is also my favorite type of relationship that gets written because it is very genuine. It's very genuinely written. It feels very sincere. It never comes off as like, you know, some of these other books that we read where the relationships are they're best friends, they've been best friends their whole life and it feels super superficial. You
Yes.
can tell that these two have been best friends forever. They absolutely treat each other the way that friends actually treat each other, which is where, if there is concern, one of them will say like, I'm concerned about you. And I don't think that we get that a lot in these books, and so I really
No.
appreciated that.
All of the I feel like a lot of the relationships that we read about in these type of books, all the women are talking about as men
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
their relationships, or it's like you said, it's so superficial,
Mm,
and we don't get that here with
yeah.
Lark and Sloane. They have a very deep
Yeah.
friendship.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait till we get to Lachlan and
I
oh,
know.
oh my
I
god.
know.
I can't wait till we get to Leather and Lark. Lark is the opposite of Sloane in almost every way. So she's cheerful, she's positive, she's super trusting, she's super warm, and even physically, she is described as blonde and classically beautiful in contrast to Sloane, who is stunning but raven-haired and kind of more unique in her appearance. And then we meet Rowan's brothers, Lachlan and Fionn. Rowan is the middle brother. Lachlan is the oldest and Fionn is the youngest. And Lachlan also participates in dark tasks. So Lachlan also kills people.
He's a killer for hire.
Yeah. Rowan refers to him as the ruthless tool of the devil. However, unlike Rowan, who enjoys his hobby, Lachlan participates reluctantly. So we don't learn a lot about that in this book.
No.
Fionn is a doctor, and the brothers are all aware of the brothers' activities outside of their day jobs. So again, no secrets. We're not sneaking around here. Speaking of Lark and Sloane's dynamic, the brothers have a very classic brother dynamic. They are often ribbing one another. They are constantly worrying for one another. They like hit
They're
each
written so realistically. They really are. Because again, this other book I read, these men, the way they interacted was so not real, which is
absolutely.
important. I like reading men written by women,
Mhm.
but that still are realistic. It
Yeah.
really takes me out if I'm like a man. Men don't have a group chat
Right.
where they are talking about how stupid this guy was for letting this girl go
Yeah.
and can go for her because bro code.
What?
It, I'm telling you,
Is that
this,
from the book that you were just saying? Oh, no.
and it took me out of it.
Yeah. That's
It's
weird.
not real.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but even in this book, if Rowan wasn't going for Sloane, Lachlan would have hopped on it.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
That is real.
Yes. Yeah. That's so true. Lachlan is also excited for the killer's challenge, less enthusiastically than Lark, but
Lark is such a good hype girl.
Lark is such a good hype
She's
girl.
so excited for Sloane's hobbies.
Yeah, she really is.
She's so excited she made a new friend.
So supportive.
Yes.
He is just constantly telling Sloane how great she is. She's always building her up, and Sloane needs that.
Yeah.
She really sincerely does. She's very, very confident, but when it comes to anything related to how she interacts with other people, she's just not.
Yeah.
And that's where Lark comes in and just kind of creates that bridge for her. And we learn later that Rowan does that as well.
Yeah.
And I like, yeah,
Obsessed.
I'm
I'm obsessed with these characters.
absolutely. We get a true sense here of how much Rowan likes Sloane because it's very clear, even to his brothers, that he is pining after her
Yeah.
already. He met her the one time
It's been a year.
in a year and he's still thinking about her. He is so excited for this challenge and he is so nervous, but not because of the challenge, which is finding a serial killer and getting rid of them, but because he's nervous to run into Sloane and to see
Yeah.
her. And I just like, it's I love it so much.
How did you feel? One of my notes. How did you feel about the perception of time in this book? Because it really, like you said, this is a year later. Then
Mhm.
we're 8 months later. The
Mhm.
book takes place over 4 years.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? Do you think it was necessary?
I how did I feel about it versus did I think it was necessary? I think that it was necessary for Sloane.
Yeah.
Sloane is such a meticulous and cautious person. It absolutely tracks that it took her 4 years to put this all together.
Yeah.
It's because even in this moment, it's been a year, and she's, describing feeling like she's coming out of her skin, and she doesn't understand why, and she doesn't realize that it's because she's excited for this challenge with Rowan. And I think, like, it would have been really super unrealistic if we had been a year in and they went to this challenge and then they just because it's been a year, they haven't seen each other in a year. She bought a burner phone so that she could chat with him basically, and they've sent, like, an occasional text message here and there, but Sloane is not somebody she would never have a one night stand.
Yeah.
She is not somebody who's looking to be she doesn't even wanna be in a relationship. It's not even on her agenda, it's not even at the forefront of her mind. So, I think the timeline really tracks for me. I think
I
that
agree.
it makes
I
sense.
think that was completely really well thought out. Like,
Mhm.
Brynne Weaver,
Yes. Very thoughtful.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
All of these it really shows just how meticulously all of these characters were planned out,
Yeah, absolutely, and how well developed they all are, because
including the side characters.
including the side characters, and, like, here's the thing is I would rather have 4 side characters that are incredibly well developed than have 10 side characters that nobody is well developed. Like,
Yes.
it's yeah, it's done so, so well. Their first challenge begins. They initially bump into one another in the lobby of the hotel where they are both staying at, having limited options for the area that they're staying in. Rowan surprises Sloane in the lobby, where she is unsuccessfully attempting to read with 2 bottles of stolen wine from the closed kitchen. They exchange some fun banter, including discussing the monster porn that Sloane is reading on her e-reader,
I
which
did love learning about all of the different books that Sloane is reading about. It's so charming,
it really is a girl after our own heart.
literally.
And we also learn here the name of Rowan's renowned restaurant in Boston, which is Three in Coach. And he named that after he and his brothers when they left Ireland to come to America. They are then interrupted by the owner of the hotel, Francis, coming down to retrieve his cat. And what I liked about this book and what I liked about this author, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, but this author never tries to outright herself.
Right.
We all knew instantly from the way that they described this man as looking like he should be picking up girls with a dumbass avatar that looks nothing like him as he streams on Twitch. We knew right away that he was the killer. The
Yes.
author is not trying to create a mystery here. If you're expecting this to be some sort of like mystery book where we have to figure out each of these murders, we're not, because it's not the plot of the book. This is not a murder mystery book, it's a romantic comedy. And the entire book is written about the development of this friendship and then later relationship between these two people who feel like super alone in the world. And I really, really appreciate this author for prioritizing that when she was writing this book. Because if I had been reading this book and also simultaneously been trying to figure out who the murderer was,
Yeah.
it would have taken me out of this really unique dynamic between these two people. And I just cannot, I just cannot underscore enough how much I loved that.
And it's so, so evident in the second book.
Yes.
In the second book, the second I saw
Yes.
this character, I was like, killer.
Yep. 100%.
And she wasn't trying to hide it.
No, not at all. Nope, she is not trying to make this a mystery for us.
No.
She wants us to be fully immersed in the story of Rowan and Sloane and not in the story of who these serial killers are because it is a romantic comedy. That's what it is. And I love her for knowing what she's writing. So when Frances interrupts, Sloane describes it as feeling like a bubble bursting. Like she and Rowan were alone at sea, and she is shocked that she was able to be surprised by Frances, given how vigilant she normally is. The next day, Rowan knocks on Sloane's door and continues to verbally spar with her. He loves to see her all worked up and flustered. And I love this part because he tells her that if she lets him in, he will tell her how he got the scar on his lip that she can't stop staring at. And she gets embarrassed and then angry and says to him, I'm a serial killer. You know, I could break into your room while you're sleeping and suck your eyeballs right out of your head. with the industrial vacuum that Frances uses to clean the cat hair from the lobby carpet. And again, I laughed out loud at that.
Yes.
Like, that is funny and so relevant.
Yes. And also, I was like, she can and will do that.
Absolutely.
If
She's
I were him,
yes.
I'd be more afraid. He's so he's so cocky.
Yes. Oh,
Like,
he's totally unbothered. He, like,
yes.
he, like, chuckles, and it's
Yes.
like, "I don't doubt you."
Yeah.
Like, and it's
He really never does.
yes. No,
And we
no.
see throughout this book, I cannot wait to get to the part where we see just how much better she is
Oh, yes.
than him.
Yes.
And he's just a
Absolutely.
kind of a big dumb idiot.
He is a big dumb idiot walking around bumping into things, for sure. He says, "I don't doubt you. Are you going to let me in or not?" And he cannot come in because Sloane is just headed out on a date. And again, I just love the way that this is written because it's easy to assume, given Roman's charming personality and great looks, that he has so much experience with women and that he more than likely has more experience than shy, reclusive Sloane, which is not wrong necessarily.
No, she has not had a lot of
No,
experience.
not at all. But Sloane doesn't care if he likes her or not.
No.
It's not relevant to her. She's like, "Hey babe, this is a competition and like girls got to do what a girl's got to do." And Rowan is literally drowning in jealousy and insecurity.
Yeah, like, she's unbothered with his crush,
Mhm.
which I get like, she does have a crush on him.
Mhm.
He is overwhelmed, he's drowning, he can't focus with her there.
Mhm.
He has not figured out who this killer is.
Yeah.
He's a little panicked, and she is 3 steps ahead of
Yeah.
him.
She's already got a date lined up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty unbothered by
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. He describes realizing that she's going on a date as a wave of confusion and worry and jealousy crashing through his chest. Literally, that's how he describes it. And she is just like, I like, babes, I got a date. Like, I don't
Yeah, "Excuse me," and then
yeah.
she leaves, and he tries to follow her.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, Sloane is literally she is handling him, and it's amazing. Sloane's gone for 3 hours, and we get to spend that entire time with Rowan as he spirals.
It's so great. And again, he's written so well.
Yes.
He's written so realistic because this is realistic.
Yeah. Oh,
There are some men, Dave is not one of them. I married the least jealous guy in the entire world.
same. Yeah.
So Dave would never.
Yeah.
Men do this though. I've
Yeah.
dated very jealous men
Same. Yes.
who, while I'm at work or
Yes.
something, they're spiraling.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
But he's in a non-toxic way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rowan is spiraling because he realizes fully that he has no power.
Yeah.
Rowan is completely aware of his lack of power, and he is really just kind of like obsessing about what could possibly be happening on Sloane's date. And when she returns, he literally uses every ounce of self-control not to go over and ask her where the hell she was. Which I just could you imagine 3 hours of pacing and then that person shows up and you just are like, "All right, I'm gonna go lay down on the bed."
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
this man he's really doing his best. The thing is that Sloane gets home and turns on some music and starts
And they're
kind of
sharing a wall.
you can hear everything. And she turns on her music and she's kind of singing along, and he, like, goes to press his ear against the wall, and he realizes that Sloane is using a vibrator. And she thinks that he may have said his name while she was vibrating while she was using the vibrator, but while listening, realizes that there is another sound within the wall, and it turns out that Francis has a secret viewing room in a nook in the wall that he uses to spy on the hikers before he kills them, and he is masturbating to Sloane masturbating, and he's like, "Oh,
Just skeevy
oh god, it's so gross." Rowan can hear him, like, talking, like,
and
whispering.
grunting.
And yes, it's just so
Disgusting.
fucking disgusting, yeah. And rightfully so, Rowan, like, loses his mind and, like, goes straight through the wall.
Yes.
And but the thing is that Sloane doesn't realize what's going on. So she's like, "You're a fucking pervert. What's your fucking problem?" And he's like, "No, like, it's Francis. Like, Francis was watching you." And Francis has, at this point, fled.
Yeah.
And so
He ran through the wall,
yes, yep,
and they're
he has
standing there
his little
talking.
yeah. And again, this book is so funny because she describes him as like running away with his pants around his ankles,
Yeah.
basically. Like, it's so funny the way that I just imagine him like scurrying through
Yeah.
like the wall caverns. It's so hilarious.
I was literally picturing from Harry Potter, the one Ron's rat.
Mm,
That's literally like a rat
yes,
man.
that is exactly,
That's
yes.
what I'm picturing.
Same, 100%. Yes.
And I love here that Rowan is telling her what happened, and she just fucking takes off.
Yeah.
She's like, "All right, done."
Yep. As soon as she puts it together, she's like, all right, we got to
And
go
she
get this
takes off.
guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And he
This
has
is
to run it. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, she still has the challenge. He is so distracted by her.
Yeah.
She still has the challenge at the forefront of her mind. She's
Yeah.
like, "Sir, you're very sexy and very charming. You're not going to distract me from what I came here to do, which is to beat your ass in this fucking challenge."
Yeah.
And they pursue Francis to his home, and Sloane is ahead of Rowan. And then Rowan kind of closes the distance. He rugby tackles her to the ground, rolling to take the brunt of the fall, and then rolls her over until he's on top, kisses her cheek, and then takes off after Francis, who is fleeing in his car. Rowan picks up a rock, jumps on the hood of the car, uses the rock to bash in the windshield until Francis basically panics. He's lost visibility and he crashes into a tree. And as Sloane is approaching the accident, Rowan takes her by her neck, backing her into the nearby tree line, and growls at her, "Mine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't this where she's thinking, or is it he thinking? He's talking about the kill, but also her.
Sloane thinks 100% that it is about the kill.
Yes.
He knows that it's about her.
Yes.
And Sloane is like, this guy is terrifying. I'm going to let him have it. And she kind of starts to like leave.
Yeah, she's
Rightfully a little bit freaked out.
right.
Like,
I was trying to gauge like what she was doing because we get it from Rowan's perspective where he's beating shit out of Francis and killing him. And she walks away and leaves. Yeah, I was trying to figure out kind of what she was thinking in that moment. I know we find out later,
yeah.
but
Well, I think it, again, like the characters are so well developed, it totally tracks with who she is.
yeah,
She is not somebody who would hang out. She
right.
is very flighty.
Yeah.
She is chronically nervous. And she's like, I lost a challenge. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I don't need to
Right.
be like associated to the crime scene and I need to protect myself. And she, like, it makes sense that she would start to run away. And Rowan is like beating the shit out of Francis with a rock. And Francis is like begging him. And he tells Francis that Sloane is his and then proceeds to beat him to death. But Sloane doesn't know that that's what he says.
Right.
So he kind of comes out of his haze and he calls for Sloane, who doesn't respond. And then we see him again, full blown spiral.
Yep.
He
Of course she would leave. I went too far.
lost her. I'm never going to get her back. And in his desperation, he calls out her name one last time, and she leaves the shadows of the trees. So she comes from the shadows and is like, "I'm here," and she bandages up Rowan, and she thanks him for the good time, and they clean up the crime scene together, and that is the end of that challenge. So
He won. He won.
he won.
Rowan won, Sloane 0.
Yeah,
So far.
so far. 6 months later, and Rowan is texting Sloane about his toaster strudel, which is giving Jake from Pucking Around. Like, he's like regularly like just info dumping on her about
Yep.
his day-to-day activities. And
Yes. I didn't even think about that.
yeah, he's
Yes.
like, I decorated my toaster strudel. I wrote out winner. And she responds, like, literally her response is riveting.
Yeah. She doesn't really know how to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
You can tell she does not have a ton of experience with men.
Yeah. I really just got the impression that she's just not trying to impress him.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. Like, she sincerely is like, wow, that's like super cool, buddy. Like,
Yeah. Good job, buddy.
good job. Keep up the good work, you know?
As women have to do with
Yeah.
men.
Honest to God. Like, he clearly needs the validation. She does
Yes.
not, you know?
Yeah.
She says that they've been exchanging text messages daily the entire time, and she expresses how much it warms her, lighting places that have always been dark. And she and Lark are having a movie night. Constantine, Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is my hear me out. for
I don't
eternity.
think he's a hear me out.
I appreciate you saying that because
I love Keanu.
I thank you.
I remember when I was a kid, my cousin was obsessed with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this would have been like the early, like Speed. This
Sure.
would have been that
Oh
kinda
my
time
god,
frame.
Keanu Reeves in Speed. Yeah. He I've always had a crush on him. I have never found anybody else that has a crush on him.
Oh,
So, it
yeah,
wasn't
no.
until recently where I really started to see people be like, "Oh, Keanu Reeves," like but I just it's so interesting because thinking back on all of the history, like, thinking back on his generation,
Mhm.
we had Johnny Depp, we had
Yep.
Brad Pitt. Keanu Reeves does not fit into that
I
look
mean, Speed.
aesthetic. Oh my god, he's yeah,
So fucking hot in Speed.
so fucking hot in Speed. Well, I'm glad that he's not a hear me out.
I don't think he's hear me out.
If any of our listeners think that it's a hear me out, let us
Let us
know.
know, yeah. We're very
Yeah,
curious. We'd
we are
love to hear
curious.
your hear me out.
Yeah,
We're still
absolutely.
on that.
Oh, yes.
I still love when people like, we got Brooks hear me out. Did we talk about
Mhm.
that already?
No, we didn't.
Was it from the Brave Little Toaster? Like the
Yes.
vacuum or something?
Yes.
Such a good hear me
Such
out.
an excellent hear me
I
out.
think that's the best one.
Absolutely. I love that Carmen's hear me out would have been the toaster and not
It tracks though.
it does. It's so appropriate.
Sweet
Ah,
Carmen.
sweet, sweet Carmen. Of course she would love the toaster.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Lark is encouraging Sloane to pursue things with Rowan. And although Sloane is resistant, she eventually agrees to make a trip to Boston 3 months later,
Yeah.
which again,
It took her 3
timeline.
months.
Yeah, they have this movie night. It takes her 3 months to get up the nerve to do it.
And she even says at their movie night, "Oh, I have a work trip coming up. I'll see him there."
Yeah.
And then it's 3 months later that she does this. I
Yeah.
was surprised, but it took her
Really?
3 months to I thought she did have an actual work meeting, so I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, okay."
yeah.
So she'll see him in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
3
No,
months.
she needed some time to work up to that.
Yep.
She shows up at 3 and Coach and is shown to a booth. And I this
She
entire
requests that booth, doesn't she?
no,
Oh, no.
nope,
Okay.
the hostess recognizes her. We'll
Oh,
talk about that later.
okay.
We can't talk about it
Oh,
now.
yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Because it's from yeah.
Yep. The hostess shows her to that booth, and this entire scene is it's I
Chaos.
oh my god, I love
So
this scene.
chaotic.
I love this scene. I this scene is so I'm gonna try to break it down. I'm gonna try to do it justice. I don't
A
know if I'm gonna
lot
be able to.
happens.
So what's happening here is that Sloane so she's getting in her head. She's feeling incredibly insecure. She is like, "I'm being weird. He's gonna think I'm a stalker." She's so anxious through this whole meal. And she's, like, eating in silence. She's lost in her thoughts of how weird she is for doing this. And so much so that she doesn't even realize what's happening right now. She doesn't understand the way that the server is she's not interpreting the way that the server is treating her. She's not interpreting where she was sat, and we'll get to it later, but she as kind of one of her ways of dealing with her nervous energy, she takes to drawing in a notebook that she carries with her. And as she's getting to the end of her meal, a group of people walk into the restaurant and she realizes that one of the members of the group is none other than Rowan's brother, Lachlan. She recognizes him because of how much he looks like Rowan. And he makes eye contact with her, which spooks her. So
Yeah.
again, she's very flighty, she's very nervous. She gets her dessert to go, she gets the bill, she rips the drawing of the Blackbird out of her notebook and throws it on the table as she's, like, rushing out the door and is stopped by Rowan, who has realized that she was here. And a few key things here. Rowan is upset with the host. He
Yep.
is he does not want the table to be bussed. He does not want Lachlan to go near the table.
Yeah.
He's asking her, "Why is she here?" And Sloane is like a caged animal.
Yes.
Yes, she's absolutely mortified. She knows that this is his brother and these are his friends, and they're watching from the middle of the restaurant, and she's nervous, and the way that Rowan talks to her is like someone trying to calm a caged animal.
Yeah.
And he is so calm, he's so gentle. He asks her to stay, but she declines. And as she is getting ready to leave, a beautiful blonde woman enters the restaurant to join Lachlan's party and greets Rowan with a hug. And this is the final nail in the coffin for Sloane, who basically at this point runs out of the restaurant away from Boston.
She literally, she flees she flees the state.
Yeah, she literally immediately goes to the airport and gets on a flight and goes home, like instantly. She doesn't even take her dessert. She throws it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rowan is texting her like, can we talk? And she's like, can't talk. I'm on a plane. Sorry for being weird. And he responds, it wasn't weird. I wish you had stayed. And those messages occur over a period of 3 weeks.
She's not responding.
She's not responding. He can tell that she's pulling away. And after a week of not hearing from her, he flies to her city, hides behind a tree in front of her house, has a young man or a young boy that he pays deliver ingredients to her house in order for her to cook a gourmet meal. And then he calls her to walk her through the instructions, and he uses the calls to connect with her. So it gives him something to call her about. And then he can ask her questions while she's focusing on something, because he knows this is the only way that he's going to nail her down to get to bond with her over anything. And so,
can we just say the first meal that he sends her is orzo pasta?
Yes.
Because she told him, she kept calling the maggots the orzos to him.
Yes.
Couldn't be cuter.
Yes.
And the fact that he remembered it.
Yes. Yes.
I love Rowan.
I love these two together so much. In their conversations, he learns about her job, about her art, and discloses a little bit about his childhood, which was dark. He was abused as a child. He and his brothers were. And he shares that feeding his starving brothers was what made him want to become a chef. And I have to read this quote because I have to read the quote. It's for banter. It's for I really want you guys to get into this. So he says, I'm sorry you don't enjoy your art anymore. And she says, me too, but thank you for teaching me yours. I may have only grated a baby's head's worth of cheese, but she pauses to take a deep breath. I'm having fun. Rowan gasps theatrically and says, no, you can't. That wasn't part of my plan. Come on.
Obsessed.
Like,
it's because even though it is a very calculated conversation, it's a very scripted conversation, it still feels like a conversation that could happen in real life.
Absolutely. That wasn't part of my plan for you to have fun. So realistic. And it's so just like, it's so sweet. And he gets a giggle out of her for it. And
the fact that he has known her, he's seen her 2 times. He's interacted with her 2 times in person, and he already knows exactly how to be her friend and really get her
do what she needs.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. He does this a few more times, talking with her through the preparation and her enjoying the food until he finally goes home to Boston. And I think that what I really love about this is that in all of these like scenarios that we work through, Sloane is so self-deprecating. She is constantly thinking like how weird she is, like what a stalker she is, and like keeps like reliving this like leggy blonde and how full his life is, and like what could she possibly like add to his life. And like when we see from like Rowan's perspective is that he sees all of those things about her, and the fact that the things that she doesn't like about herself are the things that he loves about her.
Yeah.
And I just like, he really he can see her mind. He knows when she's about to run. He understands all of her nervous energy. He calls her a feather in a north wind. And later on, he thinks of how she looked like she wanted to take a blowtorch to the booth where she left her raven drawing. And he loves that about her.
Yeah.
He thinks to himself, like, she would have taken a blowtorch to that and like, oh, it's so I just like love it so much. And I love that he loves all of the things that she feels so insecure about.
Yeah. And the fact that she felt like a stalker for going to his restaurant to see him, and he's actually stalking her.
Yeah. Yep.
She has no idea. She feels like she's the weirdo.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
so typical, and I hate, like, the miscommunication trope, and I don't think that's what we have here. This is done well.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely.
little level of, like, they're still communicating. She's saying that
Mhm.
she said multiple times that she feels weird
Mhm.
for how she's
Yeah.
behaving, and he's just stalking her still.
Yeah, they both do a little bit of light stalking,
They do.
which I love.
Yes.
Yeah. It's time for the next challenge, and oh, sweet, sweet Rowan, just a big dumb idiot walking around bumping into things. That's my
This
note.
this I have so many notes with this scene, or this whole challenge is so good.
It's so good.
It's so typical.
Yes. So he interrupts Sloane, who is at dinner with their target, Thors Thorsten
Sloane
Harris.
Sloane has been stalking this man, gotten him to ask her to dinner.
Mhm.
She's putting the work, and then being a man,
Yep.
Rowan just waltzes on in,
Yep.
taking credit for her achievement. I just can't.
How the scene plays out is one of those serves you right.
100%.
It is
Yes.
it's the most
This
perfect.
big dumb idiot got what was coming.
Exactly, yes. They both charm Thorsten, and he invites them to his home to dine with him. He is a foodie. And they arrive to dine with him. And here we see Rowan profess himself to Sloane, but she continues to think of it as shameless, meaningless flirting. Sloane says something like, well, it's hard to compete with Rowan's adoring socialite regulars. And he responds with, no one compares with Sloane. She just hasn't realized it yet. And she genuinely thinks that he's being cute, but he literally and sincerely means that no one competes with her and that
Yeah,
she hasn't realized it yet. And
yeah,
we are seeing that literally play out
yeah.
in full scope in this scene.
And the dynamic here too, because he's feeling like she doesn't see how he's feeling. She doesn't see this. When he's sitting there at dinner with a serial killer, he doesn't know
Yeah.
why he's the mark yet.
Yes.
The fact that he's feeling like she's so in the dark, she doesn't know how he feels, and she is sitting here thinking like, he doesn't even know why we're here.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's the cutest, like,
He
murder
just
scene.
he is so overwhelmed by the way that he feels about her.
Yeah.
It just takes
He's
up
gonna get himself fucking killed.
almost does.
If she wouldn't have been there, book done. Rowan would be dead.
Yes. It's yeah.
He's this
It's
cute little puppy just chasing after her.
as the night progresses, they are being waited on by Thorsten's manservant, who Thorsten describes as having a brain injury, which makes him compliant and totally silent. And Sloane realizes that although he's put together Thorsten's MO, Rowan has not.
She clocks it right away. She's literally trying to mouth lobotomy
Yes.
at Rowan.
Yeah. She's
And
doing like the head
yeah, like, look
pointing
over
in her
here.
head.
Yeah.
She's like mouthing lobotomy, and Rowan from across the table is like, "You love me? What are you saying?" Like,
It
yeah,
shows how into her he is, how
yeah,
just consumed,
yeah.
because he is not reading, and we know he's a serial killer. We know he's good at reading these types of scenes,
Mhm.
and he cannot think with her.
He just adores her.
Yes. Chaos.
Well, Rowan falls victim when he decides to drink the wine, and the wine has been drugged.
And Sloane even says, like, Thorsten fills both of their glasses,
Yep,
Rowan and Sloane's glass,
yep,
doesn't put any in his.
yep.
And she's like, and this fucking idiot drinks it.
Yes. Yes.
I just can't.
She genuinely like, how Nicole feels right now is exactly how Sloane feels. She's like, "I don't understand
Exasperated.
how you are not putting this together." Like, it's yes. It's so good.
Oh, and then dinner comes out.
Yeah, so David, Thorsten's manservant, brings out the beef niçoise, which Rowan
Digs in.
digs right in.
Right in.
Just starts going he's, like, complimenting Thorsten on it, and in this moment, he confesses that he has taken a vow of abstinence over a woman who doesn't want him, and then promptly passes out with a bite of beef niçoise still in his mouth,
Yeah.
literally, like, headfirst into his
Yeah.
salad, and Sloane manages to subdue Thorsten and begins configuring her murder scene with him tied to his chair as he screams while she waits for Rowan to wake. This could be a very dark scene. So, I probably should have put a trigger warning before that, but I'm gonna put it here. If any of this if you have a weak stomach, do not listen any further.
Yeah.
Just take a pause, give it maybe 5 minutes, and we can pick back up where we left off. But Rowan wakes up, kind of starts to put things together that Thorsten is a cannibal who has lobotomized his manservant and drugs his victims to use various aspects of their bodies for preparation of his unique food and wine. And this whole scene is so dark. It's so funny.
This scene is so funny.
Yes,
It
it's the way that she writes and brings humor to this is Sloane is like cutting pieces of like off of this man. He's screaming, he passes out. She's like adding it to her web and she's explaining to Rowan like, "Sir, you ate human."
yeah.
She's like, "You couldn't get enough." That's what she tells him. She was like, "I had to scrape it off your tongue when you passed out so you wouldn't choke on it." And Rowan is like vomiting all over the place and she's like, "For God's sake, could you do it in the bowl, you pansy?" Like she's not like not
It's
she's
so
more worried about having to clean up his vomit than like cleaning
Yeah,
up
this
this.
is a crime scene. Idiot.
Yes. It
Typical. A
Oh my
man
god.
coming in and ruining shit.
Yes.
Like, if he wouldn't have even been there, she'd have this kill nice and clean.
Oh god, yeah.
But he had to come
Absolutely.
in,
Yeah.
get drugged, eat human, pass out, vomit all over the whole thing.
Oh my god. It's so
I
bad.
do like when she's plucking out his eyeball. She's already plucked out his eyeballs, and Rowan looks at him, is like, "Oh, you really did a hack job on that one." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Which one? Where?"
Yeah.
It's so
He's
funny.
so cute. This becomes like an inside joke
Yeah.
between them where he's like, "I don't know, the right one looks a little gougy." And she's like, "I don't gouge, I pluck. Like, I'm
Yes.
a lady."
Yeah.
Like,
And she, like, gets down to inspect it.
yes.
It's so unserious
Yes.
for a very I think that's what makes this book not as dark as it could be,
Yeah.
'cause that is so unserious.
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it.
I know. I love it so much. Sloane finishes up with Thorsten, and she has a really powerful monologue here where she begins to compare him to another man, a powerful man who used his influence and charm to lure people with promises of education and opportunities for students who are gifted in the arts, and how he took so much more than the price of admission from his students. And I do have a quote here too.
Yeah.
I really cannot do this monologue justice.
No.
She says, "I could take it. I could cope. I had an end in sight. And in a way, I was learning. I was learning how to keep my rage and darkness beneath a mask so I could carry on in the world. So I kept my mouth shut as I gave pieces of myself away. But you know, the one price I could not pay? The price I could never pay was Lark. She was the only person I cared about. And when I found out what he was doing to her, what she had been hiding, I did some hiding of my own. That same night that she confessed someone else's sins to me, I waited in the shadows. I made a vow in the dark that I would wipe out everyone like him that I could find and that I wouldn't stop until I found the worst, the darkest, the most depraved, and I would erase them from the world." Sloane's arm raised on either side of Thorsten's head, the handle of the knife gripped in both hands, her skin bleached over the knuckles. "This is me keeping my promise." The music crescendos through the speakers. She is a fucking virtuoso, surrounded by her masterpiece. She waits for a single word from the man beneath her, holding out the perfect note. "Please." And then she slices him right down the middle. And the reason that I loved this so much is it gives us so much insight into why Sloane is the way that she is, but also the way that he describes her as a fucking virtuoso. Sloane is a literal masterpiece to Rowan.
Yes.
He sees her as actual art of like put into human form. He is
Yeah.
absolutely in awe of everything that she is. And I just like, I love it so much because all of that was from Rowan's perspective.
Yeah.
So,
And I think Brynne Weaver does the dual perspective so, so well. The
I agree.
scenes that need to be from Rowan or Sloane's perspectives
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
it's so like, this is Sloane's kill
Mhm.
from Rowan's perspective,
Yeah,
and it's so
absolutely.
much more powerful that way.
Oh god, yeah, absolutely. Well, and then I think after this, it's like, again, we get to really see how unique Rowan is in the way that he approaches Sloane because she is I think part of the reason I wanted to read that monologue is because it's hard to describe how like into herself she has come at this moment. She like there is nothing else. All she is seeing is kind of like reliving this. She's kind of like in a trance almost. And Rowan like approaches her with like all the care in the world and is just like, I'm here, I'm safe, Lark is safe, you're safe, and just like reinforces that with her because he knows that this experience for her, having someone that she loves, even if she's not willing to admit it to anyone, was triggering for her. This was her reliving what was happening to Lark with Rowan because she loves him already. And even though she doesn't know it, he does.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's, oh my God, it's so fucking good.
I know this whole like scene is my favorite. It's not a sex scene, but this was my favorite scene. I
Yeah,
think about this scene all
I
the
would
time.
agree. Yeah, absolutely. I had to put this in here. So they go to start cleaning things up and they find David in the kitchen, Nicole's face. David is like losing his mind. He's like eating everything in sight, all of the things that are made from humans, raw.
Mhm.
And he is eating from a giant tub of cookies and cream ice cream. And the cookies and cream ice cream has the following ingredients, which Sloane reads out loud for Rowan, who is still a little gaggy.
Yep. I'm a little gaggy.
The ingredients are cream, sugar, and semen, milked April 10th to April 13th. So,
I haven't eaten ice cream since. This book is in Lights Out. We have Josh, who's now a vegan
mm,
because he ate human meat accidentally. And these two, well, they can't eat ice cream anymore. Rowan does not become a vegan. He
no.
just ate some human and he's pretty unbothered. It wasn't even a big focus. They make
No.
jokes about it.
Yeah. They continue to joke about this scene. They joke about everything.
Yeah.
Like, and all of these like little challenges become their own like little inside jokes. And
Yeah.
they are just, they are so perfect for each other. It's unbelievable.
All right, we're going to go ahead and end our part 1 of Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver right there. Join us next week for part 2. We get another challenge, we get some smut, and the whole book really just comes together. It's such a great book, and we can't wait to talk with you about it. We want to, of course, thank Paggle for her help with our social media. We are on Instagram and TikTok at BooksLet'sPod, and you can find us online at booksletspodcast.com. With all of the changes and unexpected things that are happening with TikTok and other social media sites like Meta, we are going to try to pivot and stay as relevant as possible. So if you check us out at our website, you'll be able to kind of keep track of where we're at from there. We will see you next week for part 2. I'm Amanda.
I'm Nicole.
And we are Bookslets. See you next time. Bye.